Yeah.
Okay, now we are recording. Please go ahead.
Thank you. All right, I am going to call the meeting of the Governance, Organization, and Legislation Committee to order. It is Tuesday, March 10th, 6:31 p.m. I'm going to take this time to call on each member and make sure that they are present and can hear us and we can hear them. Amber Cano-Martin,
Present.
Lynn Griesmer,
Present.
Counselor Lord.
Present.
Thank you. And I am present as well. All right. So I jumped on right before we started off here. So I'm just making sure I've got everything set. Today's meeting, the first part of our meeting will be focused on interviews for the Finance Committee. And then we will move on to the remainder of our agenda. So oh no, I lied to you. I'm sorry. We're going to start with public comment as per usual. Public comments on matters within the jurisdiction of the committee are welcome at this time. Residents are welcome to express their views for up to 3 minutes, and we will not engage in a dialogue or comment on a matter raised in public comment. But this is your chance to speak to the committee if you are interested. After this, we are going to go to interviews for the Finance Committee. So if anyone in the audience would like to make public comment, go ahead and raise your Zoom hand at this time, please. All right. Seeing none, we are going to move on to our interviews for Finance Committee. And I do want to let the committee know that I did receive an email at 5:30 from Esther Azar withdrawing her name from the nomination process. So we have three folks who are in the audience now who we'll be bringing in a moment. And just as a reminder for how this process works, we have 8 questions. GOL members, this is in your packet and posted on the public meeting packet. And I will ask the questions in a rotating order. Applicants will have up to 3 minutes per question, and I will have my timer going so that I know the time and can make sure that nobody goes over. And I'm going to just alternate through the names, and everybody will answer the question before going on to the next one. So if we could bring in Kathleen Mitchell, Evan Naismith, and Jeffrey Robert from the audience, please. Are there any questions from committee as we get started in this process? Okay.
I do have one.
Okay.
You're going to ask all the questions?
That is how it is
Yes.
listed in the rules.
Please
yeah.
do them. I just want to make sure we all know that.
Yeah. Any other questions before we get started? Okay. All right. So welcome, Kathleen, Jeffrey, and Evan. I just want to make sure we can hear you and you can hear us. So let's start. Evan, can you hear us and we can hear you? Awesome. Can you just say like hello?
Yes.
Perfect. Jeffrey?
I can hear you.
Excellent. And Kathleen?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. So I have notoriously had internet issues whenever I'm leading GOL. So if I suddenly go with my video off, it's because I think I've started to lag, and I apologize if that happens. My wife and I now have an agreement where I'm the only one who gets to use the internet for these 2 hours, but it still sometimes happens. So bear with me. All right. So we've got, if you just heard me say this, we have 8 questions to ask you today. We did send these to you in advance. I'm going to ask, is there a member of GOL, Lynn, Counselor Lord, or Counselor Cano-Martin, who might be able to take brief notes for our report, since I'm going to be asking the questions that you could then send to me for inclusion in the report? Is someone able to do?
Anna, I'd be glad to do that. Could you send me your form?
Yep, I will send you a link right now. And for the purposes of like right this second, even if you just take some notes in Word, that'll be, and then send those to me, that'll be enough. Just kind of on how the conversation goes. But I will send this to you as well. All right. Here we go. So question 1, based on the selection guidance, and I'm going to go Kathleen, Jeffrey, Evan on this one, and then I'll keep rotating through. So, based on the selection guidance, what do you feel you bring to the Finance Committee that can make it successful? Please include any experience you have with finance in general or with the town's Finance Committee. Go ahead, Kathleen.
Thanks for having me here tonight. I've lived in Amherst for almost 4 years, and during that time, I have devoted a considerable amount of time toward learning about the town and the school finances. My initial entry point into this was as a parent, trying to understand the challenges around school funding. So I started asking questions, and as you can imagine, living in Amherst, when you ask questions, you get a lot of different answers. And as a newcomer, I really wanted to understand for myself the information to make my own decisions, and so I really started digging in. So for the past few years, I have been regularly following Town Council, the Finance Committee, School Committee, JCPC, CPA, Budget Coordinating Group, and when they happen, the Four Towns meetings. I have read budget books cover to cover, and sometimes I have pulled data out of budget books and made my own spreadsheets. I have examined the quarterly reports and the audit reports. I have learned to navigate around the DLS and the DESI websites to get the data that I'm looking for, and I have looked into budgets of other towns. When I have questions, I ask, and I've spent a lot of time interacting with town councilors and school committee members and members of the finance committee. I am not a financial expert, but I understand data, and my strength, I think, is in being able to synthesize data from various sources to understand that minute details are data points that connect to other minute data points. And together, all of these tell a story, and that they have to fit together perfectly like puzzle pieces to make it all work in Amherst. And, as a newcomer and a naturally curious person, I think I bring an inquisitiveness to the table about the financial matters, willingness to ask questions, and I chose Amherst as a place to live. I moved here with my school-aged children. My mother followed me. And we are here for the long haul, and we want to see this amazing community thrive. And I think I can contribute to that goal as a member of the Finance Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go to Jeffrey, same question. And do you prefer Jeff or Jeffrey?
Jeff is fine.
Jeff, okay. Do you want me to repeat the question or you?
No, I've got it. It's not a big issue. So,
Go ahead.
good evening, counselors. Thank you very much. Thank you for the time this evening. I'll just kind of describe briefly. I know we sent out the SOIs. So, how do I think I can help this committee? I spent 4 to 5 years working for the Rhode Island House of Representatives as a policy analyst. Because I held at that time a bachelor's of science degree in economics and finance, and I had an MBA in financial management of risk, I was tasked to cover the House Finance Committee. I had to learn really like where did all the money from the state come from, and really where did it go? About that time, it was about an $8 to $10 billion budget. And then I had to educate my reps on the actual budget for policy decision making and voting. So in effect, I was a non-voting member back then because I had no say in anything, and I just talked to them about the problems at hand. Inherently, I'm a numbers person. I like numbers. I liked covering the budget. I liked reading the technical analysis books. OMB used to give us a stack of books, literally. It was like a 12-inch stack. It came in eight or nine different volumes. And I liked going through it. I was probably the only one in my office who actually knew what it was inside of that book. And I liked going through seeing the trends that were in the books. So what happened over the last 2 actual years? Then we could look at current fiscal year. Then we'd look at the projection for the upcoming fiscal year. You'd see the trend analysis. I just enjoyed it. I worked with OMB, Office of Management and Budget, House Fiscal, practically all the state agencies to better understand the state finances and really to evaluate it. Also during that time, I was clerking for an oversight committee who was evaluating Rhode Island's moral obligation bond. This was back when Kurt Schilling's company went bankrupt. And I spent a lot of time looking at municipal bond finance as well. I left this job to earn a PhD, and that was in financial planning, housing, and consumer economics. So now I teach finance and real estate at UMass Amherst. I enjoy education, right? That's why I left this world so I could go to school and educate finance in hopes that I could really just help people learn more about their life and their numbers. So I hope to serve this committee by explaining technical finance concepts or topics in non-technical ways. Currently, I am the executive treasurer of the International Real Estate Society, whose focus is really to promote sustainable real estate education globally. And I can talk about experiences from that, working with diverse groups across the globe. I've lived in college towns for the last decade. I'm familiar with the financial challenges and the opportunities associated with those type of environments. I'm excited for this opportunity, and I appreciate being considered for this. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. And Evan, go ahead.
Hi, counselors. Also, hi, Kathleen and Jeff. I know both of them. They're like insanely well qualified. I'm just honored to be here. So yeah, I've been a 5-year resident. I was actually raised in the Valley, so I understand the history of the area and the priorities of the community. I'm also an Amherst Education Foundation board member. That was basically the first thing that I did when I got into town. I knew that I wanted to make sure that the schools were well endowed, and so I joined and have been a board member there ever since. I have 2 kids in the ARPS system, so I'm heavily invested in the long-term fiscal future of Amherst. As some of you know, I have written extensively about the property tax issues and kind of the relationship that the town has with UMass and the other colleges, which is, an extremely important issue when we're talking about finance. Though I'm not a finance major, I am in law school, second-year law school student. And, I've taken classes on contracts and land use regulation, municipal governance, and state legislative process. So I can bring that both legal rigor and commitment to the community. And I'm not going to use my full 3 minutes. That's the answer.
That's fine. Thank you. Thank you all so much. Sorry, my internet started going there. All right. So we're going to go to question 2. And this time we're going to go Jeff as
I only heard the beginning
your
of that.
understanding of the role of finance committee. Sorry. I'm so sorry. Let me start. Can everybody hear me now? Maybe.
Yes, we can hear you, Anna. Now we cannot.
If you'd like me to start with the second question, I heard I was going first, but then I lost it from there.
Yeah, just can you hold on 1 second while Anna reconnects? Because I want her to be able to hear the responses to the questions.
It looks like she's rejoining now.
Yeah.
Uh, so that it's not disruptive.
Thanks for your patience, everyone. This is, I'm sure, frustrating for Anna when it happens.
Yeah. Can I just make a suggestion? Amber, as vice chair, can you make sure you go find the questions So in case you have to pick up when this happens again.
Yeah, actually, I do have the questions open. So,
Great, great. Thank you.
yep.
Anna is going to phone in. Amber, if you could ask the questions, and Anna will listen in from her phone. She just sent me a message asking to do that.
Okay. Sure. I guess we're going to be starting with Jeffrey this time. And the question is, what is your understanding of the role of the Finance Committee?
Yeah, sure. So my understanding of the role of the Finance Committee is that the Finance Committee advises the town council on all town financial matters, right? So what does that mean? Well, it's like giving attention to the council's statements of values. So what those statements of value are and how we can align the fiscal priorities to those priority council measures. It's basically like reviewing and making recommendations, whether that's capital improvement projects, infrastructure, lease sales for land or buildings, borrowing debt, anything like that, even setting utility rates. Those would be within the purview of the finance committee, but it's non-binding, and it would be making recommendations to the town council itself. Anything that's a policy fiscal implication. Also, I think report findings of the annual audit would also be something that this committee would handle. And again, providing whether it's reports, evidence to that notion to the town council.
Okay. Thanks, Jeffrey. Or Jeff, sorry. And we'll go
Oh.
to Evan.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it much better myself. I think that there's also kind of the sub question of what is the non-voting member's role? Is that correct?
But we haven't gotten to that one yet.
Okay. Yes, so just building off of Jeff's answer, yeah, advising the town on all financial matters, reviewing spending proposals, budgets, and fiscal policies. And it's an advisory body, and then the full council votes on the matters suggested.
Okay, thank you. And I will pass it to Kathleen. Same question.
Yeah, I will just add on a bit rather than be so repetitive. I don't know if we've mentioned the budget guidelines, which are a big part of the Finance Committee's role each fall in determining the guidelines to give the town manager around forming the budget for that year. And then a big component that I've followed closely are the budget hearings that happen in the springtime as the Finance Committee reviews the budget piece by piece. And I think while maybe not a written out role for the Finance Committee, I think one of the most essential things that happens during those hearings is it's really such an important opportunity for the Finance Committee to hear directly from the town departments and the school leadership. And it's in listening to those meetings, I think, is when you get so much context around the pressures on different departments, the goals, the pressures, the obstacles to meeting the goals. And that rich context then feeds into the guidance on the budget and the budget recommendations. So yeah, I'll just add that to the other list that has already been put forward.
Thank you, Kathleen. Anna, do you want to ask the next question?
I'm going to let you go ahead, Amber, because I'm not sure where we are. Everybody, I profusely apologize. Zoom just fully quit on my computer, so I'm so sorry. And Amber, if you don't mind,
yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna start with Evan this time, and the question is, what is your understanding of your role as a non-voting member? So there you go, to that part.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so as a non-voting member, I see it kind of like as a a clerk of the court. That's kind of how like my brain works. And the clerks are really they're tasked with doing deep dives into research, really kind of filling in the gaps, anticipating and responding to the needs of the voting members, while always staying professional and productive and listening to the community, just keeping your ear to the ground to understand what the community is sensing about, impending budgetary concerns, those kinds of things, and to contribute substantively to the conversation and, learn at the same time.
Okay, thank you. And then we'll go to Kathleen.
Yeah, I mean, I think the role of the non-voting member is to participate in the finance committee alongside the voting members, with the difference being that the non-voting members express support or non-support rather than vote yes or no. Um, I think they have an obligation to be prepared to review the documentation for any given meeting, to be ready to participate in the conversation, to offer suggestions, to ask questions. I've heard so many great questions come from non-voting members because they are less immersed in the day-to-day, and so they really ask some great questions. And then, I think not necessarily a formal link to the public input, but I do think it's really helpful if the non-voting members are at least paying attention to the town council meeting in which that same issue is being raised, because the finance committee, in my experience, gets very little in the way of public comment compared to the public comment that comes to the council meeting. And so I think an important role could be to make sure that you are up to speed, not just on the document in the packet, but on the discussion that has preceded that document arriving at finance. So.
Okay, thank you so much. And Jeff.
Oh, my understanding of the role, and much to Kathleen and Evan's points that were already made, it's you're serving on this committee just like a full participant, and you're there for all the discussions. You have to be informed. You have to be doing the work, even though that you're not the one at the end of the day putting your hand up and saying vote yay or nay. And I think from my experience, I mean, I've been doing that my whole life with the House of Representatives in Rhode Island. It's getting into aspects of the budget that everyone has to know because it impacts everyone. I think the also an expectation is that we're each individually gifted with our own skills and we have our own unique experiences. Learning from each other's strengths helps everyone on the team do better. And so expanding the elected committee to have 3 non-voting members helps us tap other experiences in this community to make our town stronger from a financial perspective. So I think a non-voting member who can come to the table with some of those additional experiences can really add depth to the town's fiscal strength.
Okay, thank you so much. So we'll move on to the next question. The question is, tell us about an experience you have had collaborating with a group, particularly where opinions were in conflict or the decision was controversial. And I think we're starting with Kathleen this time.
Well, I live in a family with a preteen and a teen, so conflict is a regular part of my life. But that aside, in my professional work, I worked for several years in a very large youth services nonprofit in New York, and I was in the monitoring and evaluation department. And our department was positioned between the program staff, who were carrying out their work every day with young people with significant needs, and the development staff, who were sitting in the headquarters making sure that the programs had enough money, making sure that we were compliant with reporting requirements for complicated grants from the state, from the city, from private donors. So I worked on a team with both program staff and development staff, and we had to come up with ways that the programs could track their work, what we were going to commit to saying that we could show at the end of a program cycle to show that the program was successful, and how that was all going to work. And there was often a lot of tension between the program staff saying, well, this is adding a lot of work to my already busy day, and the development staff saying, well, this is essential to how we move forward. And so we would have a lot of conversations in which we tried to listen to each other, break down some of the resistance, try to understand what it was that was so challenging about a certain ask, take everything down to a bite-sized piece, see what we could get agreement on, and then work up from there. And it wasn't always successful. We spent a lot of time trying to get to something that was workable sometimes, but at the end of the day, we got a lot of good work done and kept things collegial and, productive. So.
Okay, thank you. And I guess we'll go to Evan.
Yeah, so I am the vice president of the American Constitution Society, which is kind of like the liberal equivalent of the Federalist Society. And so every year we actually debate them, and it is custom for us to like switch sides. So for 2 years in a row, I've taken an extremely conservative position and debated it for 35 minutes and paired up with one of them. Which is, something that I'm not really used to. And it really came a lot easier to me this year, which was great. I could tell that I was growing as a person. The first rule was that you have to remain professional and respectful. You listen to the data, you listen to the law, and then one thing that I was very proud of what our team did was we found common ground with the other side, not just like stumbled upon it, but like actively sought it out ahead of time. So that way we could come to the debate and say, hey, this is, we can agree on the following things, and let's work out the rest of the details ahead of time. And it was definitely very contentious, but a learning experience, and we kept it very professional, and it was a fun show for everybody.
Okay, thanks, Evan. And we'll go to Jeff.
When funds are limited, right, and the needs are so many, there's always going to be conflicts and controversial decisions. As an IRES board member, this is the International Real Estate Society, we had a discussion about updating our website, really to bring it into the current millennium. If you ever see this thing, it comes from like the early 90s. It's absolutely atrocious. I hate it. Website work, if you've done anything in this experience and like in this world, it's like tens of thousands of dollars. And you ask why? Why does this cost so much, especially in like AI world? And so we had a quote. The work was like loosely defined. It wasn't really good. And I was a voting member, and even though I truly hate this website, I voted it down. I just did, because when I'm looking at something, we have to take into account that there are future implications. If we're doing something that's kind of halfway there, the scope of work wasn't fully written out for everybody. I only had one number. I want to get like 3 or 4 so I can test how close that was to a value. I created a problem because I was the tying vote that shot the thing down. And there was a lot of conflict from it, but we ultimately had another conversation. There was too much cost at risk here. Like $30,000 for a small organization is a lot of money. Right now, we're in the process of rewriting RFPs. We're making much more detailed scopes, and we're really trying to reduce our risk of the limited funds that we have. So sometimes when there is controversy or when there are difficult decisions, there are reasons for it. And we don't have a problem from a personality wise we don't hold it against each other. I don't have a problem with those that voted yes and those that voted no along with me. We don't view this as a side thing anymore. We just respected each other for the decisions that were made. And we're now at a different position trying to do what's best for the organization, which is what I think a lot of times we're going to be tasked to do in this town, make difficult decisions for the betterment of the town.
Okay, thank you so much. So our next question is, please describe the considerations and objectives you'll use for considering financial matters and the budget when making recommendations to the council. And I will pass it to Evan first.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I would use utilitarianism, right? I want to find which option is going to benefit the most people in our community while still respecting the rights of the various stakeholders involved. I firmly believe that the answers are out there. There is so much economic research that has to do with municipal finance. I think that whoever gets appointed to this position is going to have a ton of research to do in a very professional and fast manner. But they're going to have to craft that to our unique community because Amherst is not like a lot of other places, both in terms of its values, but also in terms of having that unique relationship to the colleges. So I am confident that all of the answers are out there. The best practices used by similar municipalities might fit our community, but do need to be custom tailored to fit our values.
Okay, thank you. And I will pass it to Jeff.
For me, this depends on the budgetary recommendation, right? Are these ongoing operational expenses? Are they one-time CapEx type of things? That would be like capital improvement funds. Where are the revenues originating? Again, recurring revenues, they one-time revenues. I would look sources and uses of debt, their subsequent interest rates. What are the covenants on the debts? What's the structure of those? Are there any provisions that allow the town to take advantage of lower interest rate environments, retire funds, that type of stuff? I like to evaluate future implications of financial actions. And for me, more importantly, is financial inaction. So does delaying an expense today result in a 2x increase in that expense tomorrow, right? Like those are the things that I look at in that lens. I really like to evaluate short, medium, long-term ramifications of fiscal policy. How does the decision that the committee makes today influence those that come after us, right? Like, is that not even saying for our children, that's a 2-decade conversation, but even thinking a little bit after that as well. So there's a lot of different ways that we can look at a budget. And a lot of times we look just in the near term. And that can be a challenge when we have 2-year election cycles. That's what I saw a lot of challenge when I was at the State House. It's hard to make long-term investments from a 2-year perspective. So I hope to bring a little bit more of a financial context and basis for the evaluation that could be made to council. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. And I'll pass it to Kathleen.
So the finance committee obviously has the role of advising the town council and has a lot of difficult choices to make. And I think it's very fortunate that they're not doing that in a vacuum, right? The finance committee has a number of guiding documents that it relies on, whether it's the financial policies that exist, the that year's budget guidelines, the master plan, the council priorities, right? Like there's the bylaws, there's all these guiding documents that that help to shape the work and shape the decisions of the finance committee. There's also requirements that come along with certain funding streams, right? And what those funds can be used for. So that also informs the decisions that the finance committee is making. And then, it's absolutely critical to be looking at short-term and long-term implications of all the decisions. And I see that all the time watching the finance committee. And, as we have, everyone mentions the competing needs, the limited resources. I think we always have to be asking about the trade-offs, right? Whether it's a trade-off between spending money in one place, meaning you can't spend it somewhere else, or whether we're going to lose out on something by not spending it, whether, will spending money have a negative or positive impact on an operating budget down the road? I think we have to think about is cutting funding from one place going to inadvertently drive up a cost somewhere else? I mean, these are all, when we're working with budgets this tight, we really have to be thinking in a very holistic way and considering more than just the question in front of the finance committee at any given time. It really has to be connected to that greater web of financial considerations all throughout the community.
Thank you, Kathleen. Okay, so we'll go to question number 6, and I think we're starting with Jeff this time. What is your approach to incorporating public input into your decision making?
Holistically, every town exists for its residents. And not only the residents, but those who work and play here as well. I want to hear from those diverse groups. I want to hear their top funding priorities. I ask my students all the time, how can I make this class better for you? Because honestly, it's about them, it's not about me. So they make suggestions. Some are easily obtainable than others, and we kind of compromise. It's just like a budget. We all have priorities. Each and every one of us do. We make priority-based budgets for our own lives, for the things that we have to spend money on, for the kids and keep their lights on, the roof, and all that other stuff in between. So there are many more wants than a town can reasonably afford. But it's still this committee's role to listen to those wants and to take the public's priority list in mind, but it does not necessarily mean that it has to be followed verbatim because of some of the structural issues that pervade a near-term outlook. This committee needs to be mindful of a longer-term fiscal solvency that can keep the town alive for years to come. S&P Global just rated the town. They gave it a reaffirmed rating. I think it was a AA rating. And that was because of its fiscal management. This committee needs to keep that in mind, looking forward to the next 5, 10 years, that its debt, knowing that we have a fire station and a DPW building, that's not going to be cheap and that's going to be sourced with debt. All of those items are heavily reliant upon that S&P rating. If things change because priority lists change and we have to spend too much money today, those become interest rate wise unfeasible. They just drain the town coffers from a perspective that would be unattainable for the future taxpayers to pay. So public input is important. It's ultimately up to the committee to synthesize the priorities and then make a fiscally solvent recommendation to the council.
Thank you, Jeff. Kathleen?
So I think I mentioned earlier that one of the reasons I was led down this road in the first place is wanting to understand the information behind the opinions. And that still is such a crucial element to me. It's not always possible when you get public input to understand what information is being relied upon that led to that opinion. But I think anytime you can try to understand what information, what facts, what is the information, that's really helpful. Um, you know, and then I think a member of the finance committee has to take that public opinion, that public input, and weigh it against the policies, the guidance, the information that is supposed to be guiding the work of the town and the fiscal life, the successful fiscal life of this community. I think there's a role here for better, to help our residents better understand the fiscal elements of town. I think one of the issues that has come up a lot, for example, has been, could the surplus be used for operating budgets to boost operating budgets? And I think it's an absolutely fair question for people to ask, and then it has to be weighed against the fiscal policies of the town, right? We have policies that dictate how the surplus is meant to be used, and those in turn are in alignment with how the state recommends that we use our free cash, right? So this is a little divergent perhaps, but I think that we can do a better job of helping the public to understand the financial landscape, and then the public input will be more constructive because you probably have the same experience I have where you talk to people, they don't know that 10.5% of our taxes are sequestered for capital. They don't know that CPA money is largely derived from taxpayers. They don't know that the DPW budget is largely different than the paving budget, right? Like there's a lot of feedback that comes out and a lot of opinion in part because this information is not well understood. So I just think it's really important to consider the nature of the input and what we can do to help public input be more constructive and feedback be more useful to the decision makers.
Thank you, Kathleen. And Evan?
Kathleen, I love that last point about having a dialogue with the community. It's hard to go last with these two before me. Really great ideas. But yeah, you can't maximize outcomes without understanding the public sentiment in our community. I think the key, and I think we all know this, is discerning whether the loudest voices in our community are actually speaking for the majority. Property tax issues, especially, they can be pretty counterintuitive. They can be extremely emotionally fraught. And so it is extremely important to be able to get not just accurate information out to the electorate, but digestible information. I would hope to be able to gather and communicate that. I would hope to hear from a wide swath of stakeholders, not the ones necessarily just who are speaking up online, and try to find mutually beneficial solutions for everybody in our community.
All right, thank you so much. So question 7, what else would you like us to know about you that makes you a strong candidate for the Finance Committee? I think I'm starting with Kathleen. All right, losing track. Go ahead, Kathleen.
So, it's my entry point into a lot of this comes from the schools. I have spent potentially a ridiculous amount of time digging into the school budgets. I have gone back years. I have pulled down the DESE data. I have gone to DESE and asked for data when I can't find what I want. And as you know, finance has spent and will continue to spend, I suspect, a large portion of time discussing school funding because it's such a big issue right now, and I don't think it's going away. Recently, Finance Committee has been trying to come up with questions to ask the schools in order to better understand the funding, the escalating need for funding. And, this is just an example, but, talking about FTE counts and enrollment counts and the work I've done digging in leads me, for example, to believe it would be better to look at FTE count by department, right? Special ed, general ed, administration, right? Or for example, this work that I've done has led me to know that there's years that food service wasn't included in the count, or that when you pull down from DESE certain staffing reports, food service and custodial are not part of those numbers, right? So which is not to say that I am looking to answer questions on behalf of the schools, but I think I have some information which could be helpful in terms of getting to questions that are then going to get to generate responses that are instructive and useful. And I use the schools as an example. I am equally curious about many other aspects of the town budget, and will also continue to dig in on that. I'm already engaged in these conversations, and I'm going to continue to be, whether or not I am selected as a resident member. But if I can use my curiosity and the time I have and my knowledge to help in the community, then I would love to do that. So thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. Evan?
Love that, Kathleen. Yeah, I have a totally different answer. I'm completely obsessed with participatory budgeting, especially at the municipal level. I've been writing about this issue for like 10 years now, and I'm working right now one-on-one with an economist for my senior research project to hopefully get explore the legal and policy parameters of participatory budgeting for publication in a law review journal. And I think Amherst would be a amazing place to do that. I've done literally thousands of pages of reading on this topic. I've actually even coded out my own little like kind of pie chart thing. I'm super passionate about it because I really do think that it is kind of to what Kathleen was talking about on the previous question. It starts this conversation of introducing people like how do we actually derive our sources of income for the town? How do we actually spend that? Like, how do those categories break down? And then to have people to be able to get that democratic input, not just once every 2 years during elections, right? But like on a weekly or monthly basis where people can meaningfully participate, not just, a dozen of them in a room coming up with, allocating $500,000, but like maybe even a bigger part of the budget. So that's definitely something. It's definitely a side project. I know that that's in the charter as something that's worth exploring in the future, but you won't find anybody more passionate about that particular project, participatory budgeting, than me.
Thank you. And then to Jeff.
Sure. So thank you. And I guess I get to follow this up with the being the last position here for this. So I have a completely different answer than Evan. And I recently moved to Amherst. I moved over the summer, and I moved back here because I wanted to be closer to family. I wanted my family to be closer to my parents because I grew up in a very close Italian family, right? So we did a lot together. I have three small children. I don't know if you can hear my 2-year-old. He's kind of kicking the crib above us right now, so I hope you don't hear him. But they're going to go to the schools when they get older. I plan to make this town my home, and I'm very excited about this. I'm very excited to be here in this community. And I picked Amherst because of the way it was run. And I'd love to see that the school system was fantastic, that the priorities aligned with some of my own. I've been very fortunate to have earned 3 degrees in finance and economics, to have worked at the State House and actually do fiscal analysis of budgets. I've been appointed to other municipal boards. I was on the planning board in my hometown when I was back at the State House. So I know some of the process of municipal governance. When I think about skills, I've done like publishable research in both mixed methods. So quantitative analysis, coded statistical empirical analysis methodologies, but also in qualitative mixed methods work where we're doing survey designs, where we're talking semi-structured interviews. We have conversations with people, pulling out thematic responses. So I've done both sides of the research from like a professional career standpoint. And I also teach this stuff. Like tomorrow, I have unfortunately, their exam before the midterm, but it's financial modeling. The entire thing is in Excel. I've lived in Excel for longer than these students have been alive, and it's to a point where some students will walk around and they'll call me Sheets because as a nickname of how much time we spend in Excel, and I don't have a problem with that. It's kind of fun. We banter back and forth. Um, I have some skills, and I'd like to be able to give those skills back to the community. It's the community that's going to be my home for a very long time. And I want to help out as much as I can. I want to volunteer. So I truly appreciate your consideration for this role. And I thank you for your own time serving Amherst today, too. Thank you.
Thank you. And for our last question, currently the Finance Committee meets twice a month during the year, but when budget season begins in April and May, meetings become much more frequent. Can you confirm that you have the time to commit to this meeting schedule? Please answer yes or no. Fairly simple. Jeff.
Yes. Would you like elaboration, or is that all you need?
I think a yes or no is fine.
Yeah.
Evan.
It depends on what days. Right now, I do take classes until fairly late on Mondays and Wednesdays, and that will be the case until about June. But if those are not the days, or if the other position does not open until June, then we're good.
Thank you. And Kathleen?
Yes, I'm available.
All right. Well, that concludes our question. And now I am going to pass it back to Anna. I don't know what happens next.
You're doing a great job. Thank you, Amber, so much for jumping in, and you allowed me to take great notes. And I know we end on the most exciting and thrilling question there. So thank you for that. Thank you all so much for your really thoughtful answers. Athena?
Thanks. Before we let these fine folks go, there's one vacancy and one impending vacancy. And in the past, when this has been the situation, committees have asked applicants for if they have a preference before into deliberation. So I just wanted to mention that in case you wanted feedback from these applicants before we let them go.
Thank you. I just realized I'm giving it's like an Ace Ventura moment because my phone is I'm sorry about that. So yes, what Athena was mentioning is that the two vacancies that we have, one of them will start in June. Evan mentioned this too, and one of them is immediate. So do you have a preference for either? And I'll start with Kathleen.
I guess considering how closely I have been following all of this since the fall and last year, I feel like I'm able to jump right in. I would love to be able to be part of the conversations this budget season, but obviously leave that up to the discretion of this committee to determine how best to fill those slots.
Thank you. And I'll clarify, both of these are for 2-year appointments as well. Jeff?
I think when I looked at the schedule for this committee, it showed that you have Tuesday meetings. Is that accurate?
Yes, I happen to be on finance. Finance does meet on Tuesdays from 1 to 3. I think it's the first and third Tuesdays. The difference is that in May, typically we're entering into budget hearings, and so meetings are more frequent, and they include, I think that we haven't formally voted them yet, but the chair is talking about possibly Thursdays, I believe, at the same time.
So from my perspective, I teach Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And so that's a really nice, thank you. That's fantastic. So I can do Tuesday, Thursday if selected. Happy to help if it's preferable for a June start. I'm a faculty member, so I have the summer that I can play with my kids.
Jeff, that sounded like a brag. Come on. All right. Evan?
Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right.
Yeah, if it's Tuesday, Thursday, then it shouldn't be a problem. I'm flexible. Either one.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you all so much. I want to appreciate you generally for putting your name forward, for going through the process. I don't think, and I say this with the utmost respect and care, I don't think I've ever been on a call with this many people who nerd out about municipal finance. So I truly, this has set the bar. So I want to appreciate the three of you very, very much for your engagement, and for putting your names forward in this. So thank you all so much. We are going to move you to the audience, and the committee will deliberate immediately and make our recommendation. That said, we've got 2 spots. We've got 3 of you, and I don't speak for the committee, but I'm certainly going to speak for myself in saying I wish we could add a 3rd spot, because truly the 3 of you are excellent candidates. So I hope that should you not get selected for this, you consider other vacancies. Just going to throw this out there. GOL did recently vote to approve our bylaw review committee. So if you also enjoy nerding out about bylaws, I would encourage you either way to look at that one. And yeah, please don't stop putting your name forward if you're not the person chosen today. And even if you are, you can serve on multiple committees. So thank you. And Athena, if you don't mind moving folks back over, I will give us a moment there. Thank you. While Athena is doing that, I want to remind the committee that as we are deliberating and making our recommendation, we're using our selection guidance. So I'll ask folks to have that up. I'm unfortunately, because my internet refuses to cooperate, doing this from my phone. So I will need you to pull this up on your own unless someone else would like to share it. And when we are doing our selection, we are basing it on our selection guidance. So as you are considering candidates, we will also be considering that guidance. So the the factors generally for a multi-member body. So looking at the committee as a whole, we're looking at some seasoned members and an understanding of process, institutional knowledge, and folks who might be interested. I guess that's less applicable here. As well as newer members who have served less than one term or have not served before because of the energy, outlooks, and ideas that they bring to the body. And members who reflect the diversity of the town's residents, for example, age, gender, race, income, homeownership or rental status, location of residence, etc., and are broadly representative of the town. Those are the three pieces that we outline in our policy about multi-member bodies, so it applies to the whole committee. When we talk specifically about finance, the areas that we as GOL voted, I believe it was the last GOL voted, but this committee had the opportunity to review. Selection of resident members shall be based on relevant experience, skills, and policy knowledge with an emphasis on municipal and public finance. Qualifications might include, but are not limited to, past service related to finance, including public finance, auditing, or other relevant areas. Training or expertise in economics, finance, and/or budgeting, fiscal policy, or comparable areas. Demonstrated interest in municipal government operations and financial planning, and availability to attend meetings. Ideally, resident members would represent a mix of experiences, skills, and perspectives. That's the whole spiel. I'm going to open it up to the committee to hear your thoughts on how to move forward and your thoughts on making a recommendation. Lynn?
First of all, I think we are blessed to have such an amazing pool of candidates. And they represent not just Amherst, but the future of Amherst, which I think is really important as well. Therefore, it's very hard, to be honest. And I know that two of the candidates have also applied for other committees already. So therefore, it would be, I want to make sure that that they stick with those ideas of continuing to apply to other committees. In terms of the different candidates, each of them brings some different level of financial experience. Kathleen is more self-taught, if you will, but having watched that over the last year or so, very well taught. And she, I think, has come to appreciate particularly the school and the state level funding for schools. Jeff brings an amazing piece of experience that, to my knowledge, we have never had on the finance committee. And that is a serious state level experience. I mean, I bring some state level, but not at the level he does. He's written policies, analyzed policy. I was particularly struck at his response to the issue of looking out at the long-term impact of decisions we make today. And Evan also brings, in addition to the financial side of things, he does bring his legal background. So I personally think we could not go wrong with any three of them. And I'm going to wait to express more my preference after I listen to other people. Thank you.
Great. Lynn, I think that's a good instinct to start with kind of initial reflections, and then we'll go to preference. Thank you. Councillor Cano-Martin?
Yeah, and thank you for giving some guidance of how we should approach this, because yeah, I can sort of do what Lynn did here. I mean, I guess just starting with Kathleen, I just really want to appreciate about her everything that Lynn said, and also the fact that, like, not only does she pay attention to everything, she goes to every meeting, she reads the budget book cover to cover. She's also sort of educating the community at the same time. And, she's, if I ever have questions about the budget, I'll be like, Kathleen, can you explain this to me? Because she has spent more time with our town budget than any human really should, except for Sean Mangano. So I really like, there's something about, what she said about being able to, tell the public, like, how can their input best be useful, right? Like, I feel like, there's certain, like, sort of like, popular economics education, if you will, that she's been doing that's like, here, let me explain to you how this works, how this fund works, how this is limited. And I think that's like a huge value add for the finance committee, just because, I don't know that that's something that we necessarily have at this time. I know everyone who's on finance has worked so hard to understand finance and has, it's such a learning curve for so many folks. And I think that, like, even just understanding it yourself, but then to be to the level where that you can sort of explain it to others and teach others, like, I think is something that's really valuable and that can really increase the amount of constructive public input that we get. And also just the part that she raised about understanding how budgets are interconnected and how if we don't fund this thing, how that can affect this other part of the budget. That's really attractive to me as someone who spent that much time in our particular Amherst budget that has sort of like spent some time figuring those things out. Um, so I will say too, I was really compelled by Jeff's experience, and I think that there's just comes with like a real wealth of, like, knowledge and credentials and experience at the state level, as Lynn said. And what I valued about Evan was his expertise on participatory budgeting, which is something I'm really interested in. So I do, like I said, like Lynn said, I see a lot of like really great things about all three candidates, and it is hard, right? It's hard to make a decision.
Counselor Lord, do you have any thoughts at this point that any reflections that you'd like to share?
Nothing new to add so much as I've done a handful of these interviews, and I'll say this is the most challenging one I've had because of the expertise, the thoughtfulness, and just the energy all three of them have brought. So I'm super grateful and challenged.
Yep. So we've got, yeah, I think I'm feeling similarly. I am really struck by, the way that Evan applied the legal background to the financial policy. I think is really interesting to explore and look at. And I'm pulling up my notes here. I think the piece about participatory budgeting is something that we have not realized, and I think can be realized even if not in full, in small ways. And I'd love to hear kind of more about his thoughts and ideas around that. And I think, the ability to, I guess, I don't know if it's a hobby or like a part of school or what it is, but the ability to fully have to take on another person's argument and fully see it from their perspective and then argue it from their perspective is absolutely a skill that I think would benefit as we're going into tough financial conversations. I think Jeff's experience at the state level, albeit a different state, but the state level, and area of academic expertise will be really interesting to apply to a town like Amherst. I'm curious in particular with Jeff, and we can't go off the question, like we can't tailor the questions to the interviewees, right? Which is always hard for me because that's best practice, but I understand why. I'm curious about the perspective of someone who's spent so long focusing on realtors and the real estate industry and the impact that would have on his approach to finance, to the finance committee in a community that navigates a whole lot of challenges around real estate. And so I wish we could ask more questions about that, but it's something that I don't know if it's more of a curiosity than an actual kind of decision-making point for me. And then, Kathleen, I think the ability to bridge financial information and communicate it clearly is absolutely a skill that, and to hold all of that information to be able to answer those questions and explain it is absolutely a skill that we need. Right now I'm like, if I resign from finance, can we add another resident member? But yeah, so I think that for me generally I was impressed with the depth of knowledge about municipal finance broadly amongst the three candidates. And I think what we are looking for on, I guess I'll let other folks share in terms of where they're leaning. But I think in terms of what we're looking for, I do think that that ability to translate is something that we need to improve on the to translate, meaning to explain what's happening and why, and to ask those questions of us, but also be able to explain it to the community is something that I think that we have room to grow in as a council, not just as finance committee. And so for me, that was compelling. Um, and yeah, I'll pause there and see about other folks in terms of if you were to have the recommendation, who would you want to appoint and why?
I can go.
Go ahead.
And again, it is really hard because of the, how qualified this group is. But I also think that there is that possibility of another vacancy. So I'm hoping that we're keeping that in mind. That there may be another vacancy soon. So, yeah, I mean,
Right, Amber, I can clarify on that. There is a vacancy in June.
there's okay.
Yes.
So, and these applicants can be reconsidered or asked to be reconsidered.
No, we can recommend them now for appointment in June. So we will recommend two people today, one for a term starting immediately and one for a term beginning in June.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was like, wait, I just want to make sure I get ahead of you to so you know.
Okay, yeah. So,
And Athena-
you need to go before me.
Just a clarification, the current impending vacancy opens on June 30th, so the term would begin July 1st.
You're right. Thank you so much. Sorry.
Um, okay, yeah, no problem. So yeah, I would recommend that we recommend Kathleen now because she has already been involved in this budget cycle and process, and I feel like she could kind of hit the ground running and still be helpful to the committee in this current budget cycle. So I feel like that makes a lot of sense. And then I think that it would be great if we could look at Jeff for the appointment that will be happening for July 1st. So that would be my preference for now.
Lynn?
I'm going to just say ditto. Frankly, it wouldn't matter as much to me as to which one started when, because I think Jeff would be a quick study. But I do think that Kathleen would have an easier time sliding into this budget season. And I would really love to see Jeff's state level expertise brought in, since so much of what is going on with the budget is issues around state funding as well. And I think that the more we can jump into that as we have been, the better. I want to be very clear. I have a whole nother goal for where Evan goes. So it's not like I don't want him. Okay. So
I
thank
want
you.
to this debate group. I think you have to be in law school though. Counselor Lord?
Yes, I would select Kathleen and then Jeffrey as well, with deep gratitude.
So, Athena, can I ask a clarifying question?
If you're asking about the term lengths, I'm trying to figure it out right now.
I know it's 2 years, but
Yeah.
my question is if we start, and this might be what you're trying to figure out, but if we did start one person now, does it have to be June 30th, or can I set them for 2 years from today or whatever it is?
Right now, Tom's term expires June 30, 26. Joe's term expires 27. So the vacancy, I'm trying to figure out when that vacancy's term would have expired. It must be 28.
I think it was Ernie's, but well, I guess if it's a 2-year vacancy, it doesn't, or 2-year term of appointment, it doesn't matter when the current, well, I guess it's 26, so it must be 28. Yeah. Can we do an appointment? Is there a reason why they have to end June 30th? Why can't we have it go March to March?
Oh, it's every appointment goes to June 30th. It's a fiscal year appointment. It's like standard across all boards and committees.
Does it have to? Is there something in the rules that mandates that?
I want to say there's a reason we've been doing it this way forever. Lynn has her hand up. Maybe she can tell you.
Go ahead, Lynn. Oh, you're muted.
You're muted.
Thank you. I believe in the past when we've been faced with this, we've given the person the remainder of one term and 2 more years.
Yeah, that's my inclination versus cutting it shorter for sure. I think that I still don't quite. It's fine, but I think that if there's not a rule about it, that we could push back on that generally. So I would be fine to say that the first term would begin immediately, or I don't know how we would exactly write that, but immediately and to expire June 30th, 2028. And so that's 2 years and a couple months. Am I missing something? Is there a reason why we wouldn't do that? Okay.
That's exactly the calculation.
I still have questions about if it is mandated to go with the fiscal year, but that's fine. All right, so our motion, I did hear some consensus from the committee. I'm just writing out the motions, sorry. 8 but that does make both of these terms the same, right?
Yeah, the other term is not.
That's why I was getting confused, because if the partial term ends 2028, then the other one would end 2029, which is a 3-year term. That doesn't.
Right. It's possible Bernie did an extra year, maybe.
Yeah. What we don't want to do is have them all end at the same time.
Well, there's still one remaining, and they could seek reappointment. So we could. I don't know. To be honest, I'm less concerned about them all ending at the exact same time because we've had people consistently seeking reappointment. I think that what we could do is I'm not comfortable shortening one of the terms after we've kind of put the understanding forward about how long they would be, but it could be that in 2 years we just seek 1-year terms. I don't know. What do other folks think?
The charge is for 2-year terms.
Right. So it has to be, right? But we've done a till the end of a term or something like that before. I don't want to do that this time. Lynn?
But see, what I believe we can do is appoint somebody for the remainder of this term, and then considering the fact that we have 2 positions that would then come open as of July 1st, we can appoint that same person for another 2 years, and we can do that now, just like we're going to appoint a totally different person for 2 years. That's why it's one 4-month term and 1 2-year term for one candidate, and then it's a 2-year term for the other candidate.
But that brings them to the same expiration date.
Then maybe we have to at some point consider that we have 3-year rolling averages or something.
I guess I'm less concerned about 2 possible turnovers when there are 3 resident members, and but I don't want to throw this off to the end of all time.
Right.
If that is concerning for people.
Bernie's term would have been ended this June, right?
See, that's what I don't think I think that he possibly stayed on long. If Bernie's term ended this June, then we would be in the same boat. We'd have 2 people ending in 2028.
Right. And when is Joe James?
2027.
So as long as we're always going to have two people ending at the same time.
Unless you perfectly stagger it, and we would have had someone currently on. So I don't think it's a problem to have two people end at the same time.
I don't either. It's
Um,
the three people at the same time that would be the problem.
right. So,
So one appointment will be effective immediately with a term to expire June 30, 2028, and the other one would be effective July 1st, 2026 for a term to expire June 30, 2028. Is that what you're proposing?
yes.
Yeah.
So what I heard in terms of consensus from the committee is to recommend the appointment of Kathleen Mitchell. I'll make the motion in a second, of Kathleen Mitchell for the term effective immediately to end on June 30th, 2028, and the appointment of Jeff, or we'll do the full name, Jeffrey Robert, for a term to begin in July and end. Is there
second.
anyone who disagrees? I haven't made, sorry, I just wanted to make sure I had, okay.
That's the motion, yes.
Yeah. So we'll do the two separately just to be clean about it, which means I need to copy my little table. 1 second.
I should have sent you my sheets. I'd already copied them.
That's all right. I got it in a second. All right. So let's start with I move to recommend the appointment of Kathleen Mitchell to the Finance Committee for a term effective immediately and to end on June 30th, 2028. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. And is there any further discussion? Okay, I'm going to call the vote. Councillor Cano Martin,
Yes.
Len Griesmer,
Aye.
I am an aye, and Councillor Lord.
Aye.
All right, great. That passes with 4 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 absent. Congratulations, Kathleen.
And our next meeting is on Tuesday, a week from tonight, from today at 1 o'clock. You have to go get sworn in, however.
The council needs to confirm these appointments.
Oh,
I
that's
was going to say,
right.
it's not
That
official.
won't happen.
It's
No,
not-
she can't do that. Sorry, Kathleen.
You're
We'll
welcome
see
to
you in the
attend.
audience.
You're welcome to attend those meetings from the audience, though.
You know we're not allowed to make any final decisions in this body. They've seen how I run this meeting. They're not going to let us do that. All right. And second, I move to recommend the appointment of Jeffrey Robert to the Finance Committee for a term to begin July 1st, 2026 and to end June 30th, 2028. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. And any further discussion? Okay. And calling the vote, Councillor Lord,
Aye.
Councillor Cano Martin,
Yes.
Lynn,
Aye.
and I am an aye as well. That also passes 4 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 absent. All right. And yes, preliminary congratulations. And thank you all again so much for your applications and your interest. I appreciate that deeply, and our community is grateful for your willingness to serve. Okay, we are going to move on.
Just a quick
No,
point of
we're
information, because it looks like candidates are still in the audience.
yeah.
So the appointments are confirmed by the council at their next regular meeting, which is the 23rd, and then they'll get a packet to be sworn in to the town with the town clerk and so on.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
It
it.
might be helpful to send that because I think some of them had left.
Okay, I will. I'll add a note to myself to
Thanks.
send out information. Okay. So next up, we have our 2026 Arbor Month presentation. And is Ellen Kiter still in the audience? Whenever I go to the audience, I look like Ace Ventura again. Is someone able to see if Ellen is still here?
Yes.
Okay. So if you want to bring her in or allow her to speak, sorry, Ellen, you don't have to talk, but if you'd like to. And then can I ask if the biggest favor, if someone is able to share their screen with the proclamation on it from the packet, that would be
I
great.
can do that.
Thank you, Lynn. I really appreciate it. Hello,
Yeah.
Ellen. How are you?
Hey.
Thanks for being part of sponsoring this, Ellen. We appreciate
Oh,
it.
thank you. We just finished up our monthly meeting of the Amherst Public Shade Tree Committee, so the timing was perfect.
Perfect. Thank you so much for doing this and for your work on the Public Shade Tree Committee. I also want to recognize Alan Snow, who did a lot of work with this as well. And I want to make sure that the committee knows that this is not only important for all of the reasons that are stated in the proclamation, but also in order to keep our status as I believe it's the Tree City USA, through the National Arbor Day Foundation. We have to pass one of these every year. So I think we would anyway. I'd like to think we would anyway, but it's also a required thing. But Ellen, is there anything you would like to say before we get into our review?
No, this would be our 38th year of being considered as a Tree City USA. So that's a real point of pride for the town. And we have several really wonderful events planned for the month of April in honor of Arbor Month.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, Lynn, are you able to?
Yes, I'm getting there. I promise I am.
You're fine.
I wanted to get the one that we could edit if we need to. Okay. And I have it. So here we go. Back to here. Share screen. And Ellen, I want to apologize for the fact that a year ago we had to pass 2 of these because we forgot to do it the year
Yes.
before. So I'm really glad you're on it this time. Okay.
Yeah. Well, Anna really helped too.
Yes,
but
you did.
we appreciate the attention to the matter.
I think we had similar thoughts at the same time, because I reached out and I was like, I don't want to have to retroactively do this. And Ellen was like, it's on our agenda. And I was like, this is great.
We didn't want to break our streak. So
yeah, exactly.
We were lucky that they let us do it retro.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So any issues with the kind of initial piece here? Council sponsor, community sponsor, Town of Amherst proclamation. I think I got the dates all correct. And as a reminder, I guess, Ellen, this is mostly for you. We are just reviewing for clarity, consistency, and actionability. We're not doing a substantive review. So we're really just looking to make sure it makes sense, is consistent with all of the other laws. Because this has been passed so many times in pretty much the exact same language, I don't anticipate many issues, but we're not going to go through the actual content as much here. All right, so first, whereas in 1872, any issues? Okay, go Nebraska. Second, whereas Arbor Day is now observed. Last Friday in April. Whereas trees capture carbon and other greenhouse gases. Go trees. Whereas trees are a renewable resource. Whereas trees can increase property values, cut heating and cooling costs. Whereas trees can provide a source of joy. Whereas the town of Amherst has been recognized. Whereas the Public Shade Tree Committee will honor the month. A lot of events happening. And now, therefore. Okay, seeing no concerns with clarity, consistency, and actionability, I move to find the town of, oh my God, I just closed it. The Town of Amherst proclamation recognizing April 2026 as Arbor Month. Oh my God, clear, consistent, and actionable. Is there a second?
Second.
And I'm going to call the vote. Councillor Cano Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Lord. We can come, oh wait. Okay, we'll come back to you, Councillor Lord. Lynn?
Aye.
I am an aye. Councillor Lord, are you with us?
Aye, I'm here.
Thank you. All right. Congratulations, Ellen. We have found this clear, consistent, and actionable. The council will take it up to formally pass it. What is wrong with the words today? Formally pass it at our next, I believe at our next regular meeting, so that it's all set in time for April. Thank you very, very much for this.
Excellent. Thank you. Very happy.
All right. And we will move on. And thanks for coming.
Yeah. for sure.
Um, we'll move on to our next proclamation. And I want to just talk really briefly about the remainder of our agenda. I had emailed this to Ronnie Parker and Athena and Amber. I believe that we will not, I kept it on here just in case, but we will likely not get to our Human Rights Commission bylaw today just based on timing. I didn't think we would with all of the Finance Committee interviews as well as the proclamation. So I'm just kind of queuing that up for folks that we will take that up again at our next meeting. But in case people are, I should have said this at the beginning, it is just about 8 o'clock. So we probably will not get to that continued discussion tonight. Okay, so let's move on to the Global Village Festival Day proclamation. And I don't know if we have anybody in the audience for this one. Come on, computer.
I'm a stinker. Is the Purple Heart community ready? That was the next
Yes.
on the agenda.
Oh, you're right. Sorry.
I just
You
like
can
to
do
keep it in order because it's easier for me in the minutes.
I just like to make sure that you're like super duper paying attention, not just like the normal level of paying attention. Yep. So, all right, next up, we're going to go to the Town of Amherst proclamation declaring Amherst as a Purple Heart community. We had discussed this last meeting and returned it to the sponsors for a few edits, which they made. And so let's see, Lynn, are you able to do this one too? I appreciate it if so.
It's on the screen.
Oh, awesome. Sorry, thank you. The
Don't
phone
worry
thing is tough, guys. All right. Let's begin our discussion. We did start going through this last time, and Mandy did leave in one of the comments, but we can review it from the top if we'd like to. So we had added Pam Rooney asked to be added as a sponsor. So I was gonna just change that. All right. Whereas the people of Amherst, Massachusetts have great admiration because there was a new paragraph added here, Mandy felt that this was not needed because basically this first paragraph, whereas residents of Amherst have been killed in action, and then the next paragraph clarifies residents of Amherst have been wounded in action. So it kind of just broke it out into two instead of combining it. So I'm going to accept her rejection of our change, if that makes sense. Sorry. Any issues with the next whereas residents of Amherst have been wounded in action? Okay. Whereas the Purple Heart is the oldest military decoration. Whereas the heritage it represents. Whereas August 7th is nationally recognized. Now therefore, the Amherst, we typically just say we, the Amherst Town Council. So I'll add that in for consistency. Hereby proclaims that the town of Amherst is a Purple Heart community. Be it further proclaimed. All right. Athena?
Athena has her hand up.
Yes,
I just have a question about the title. Should it be proclamation declaring Amherst a Purple Heart community, not Amherst as a Purple Heart? I think originally there was like, it was going to be a designation rather than a declaration, but I think that the as is unnecessary.
Yeah. I think you're right. That makes sense. So yeah, we would declare it A. Thank you. Good catch.
Gold star for me. Thank you.
I think you're up to 3. Okay. All right. With that, are there any other changes for clarity, consistency, and actionability?
Athena, you still have your hand up.
I just like waving at you.
I assume she's just going to interrupt me if I missed her. I hope that would happen. All right. With that, I'll let someone else make a motion. I feel like I've made too many. Is there a motion? You can just say so moved to find the town of Amherst proclamation declaring Amherst a Purple Heart community, clear, consistent, and actionable.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Nope. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and call the vote. I am an aye. Lynn?
Aye.
Councillor Kenna Martin?
Aye.
Councillor Lord?
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you. That was everybody 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So that will be sent to the council for discussion as well. And now, in keeping with the order I put on the agenda that I created myself and should be able to follow, we will move to the Global Village Festival Day proclamation.
And I will find it.
Thank you. Gratitudes on gratitudes. And this is the 2026 Town of Amherst proclamation recognizing April 11th, 2026. I read that wrong. As Amherst Global Village Festival Day. We've got councilors Griesmer and Rooney as our sponsors, and our community sponsors, just about every office in town, which is excellent. All right. Any questions on the council sponsors, community sponsors piece? Okay. This is another one. Lynn, do you want to give some background for this one as well as a sponsor?
I do. I'll be glad to. Very quickly. The DEI department first started by trying to recognize all the different nationalities and the days and so forth. And it got to be just too much from a standpoint of staffing and also finance. And so they created the Global Village Festival instead. And that last year, I believe, was our first year. And it's a really just fun event. It tends to happen on the same day as lots of other things going on in town, but at least it's not on the day of the empty bowls this year for the Survival Center. So I remember going to 3 events in one day, this being one. We do read this proclamation during the Global Village Festival, and so we'll want to make sure the counselors can show up for the reading. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right. First, whereas the Amherst community is a culturally diverse community. Whereas the Amherst Public Schools, Amherst Pelham Regional Public Schools. Whereas the celebration of diversity fosters. Whereas the Amherst Global Village Festival provides. Whereas the Amherst Global, God, it's like I was up late last night. Whereas the Amherst Global Village Festival highlights. Whereas the music, dance, food, art, and performances. Whereas by coming together as one community. Now, therefore, we, the Amherst Town Council, do hereby proclaim. It's not bolded. I don't know why it looks bold on my computer. Be it further proclaimed. Not seeing any hands. And that is it. All right. With that, is there a motion to find the Town of Amherst proclamation recognizing April 11th, 2026 as Amherst Global Village Festival Day, clear, consistent, and actionable?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Awesome. Any further discussion? Okay. I'm going to call the vote. Councillor Kenna Martin.
Yes.
Sorry, I should have just kept you unmuted. Lynn.
Aye.
I'm an aye. Councillor Lord.
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you all so much. All right. I will send these off to Mandy and Alicia and Athena. Moving right through it. So we do have time to start talking about the Human Rights Commission bylaw. I think my concern is that I don't think, oh my God, Mason Ventura again. I don't know that Ronnie was able to join us because I told her that we probably wouldn't get to it. So, and I have not heard back from Paul yet. Athena, I don't know if do you have any report from Paul on Human Rights Commission?
No, I don't believe we
Okay.
have it.
So I'm unless people have something pressing that they would like to mention to the committee, I will ping Paul again on our questions, and we will plan to take this up at our next meeting. Is there anything that folks would like to discuss right now on the topic, or questions you'd like me to add to my questions to Paul, or any other information you'd like me to get before our next meeting? No. Okay, great. So coming up, I'll stay on our, I'm sorry, Athena. I'll stay on our plan. We do have a set of minutes to approve. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from GOL on February 24th, 2026?
I move to approve those minutes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Excellent. Thank you. And I'm going to go ahead and call the vote. I am an aye. Counselor Canna Martin?
Aye.
Lynn Griesmer?
Aye.
Counselor Lord?
Aye.
Thank you. And I think I already said I'm an aye, but just in case I am. All right. Okay, so now I want to just briefly, we do not have any unanticipated items, but as you all know from the meeting last night, a lot is likely coming our way. So we are going to be starting to buckle, well, not that we haven't already been buckling down. I truly think this committee has been doing really excellent work. And I'm going to be pretty aggressive on our timing. So I'm going to ask to you all as committee members to please make sure that you are coming in with as much as possible, coming in with your thoughts and your edits to things as we go, versus to kind of be looking at something for the first time in the meeting. I'm sure that never happens, but just in case, please make sure that you've done your prep work. I will try to be putting everything in the packet as early as possible. I've been trying to do that a bit better this year by just creating the packet basically now and adding things as soon as they come in. At our next meeting, which I believe is on the 24th, is that right? We will be dealing with a rules of procedure change that we've had come in, and we will spend, I think, the bulk of our time on the Human Rights Commission bylaw. And then I'm hoping that we'll start getting to the Resident Oversight Board at that meeting as well as any other proclamations that come through. Councillor Canna Martin?
Yes. I just realized that the 24th is my son's birthday, or
Okay.
vice versa. I just realized that GOL was on my son's.
There we go.
So yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to make that meeting. I'm sorry, but I just wanted to let you know now.
I really appreciate you letting us know. Happy birthday to your son, and absolutely that makes sense to prioritize that over GOL. I will double check that we have a quorum on that date, and if not, we'll find another meeting time. But I'll just double check that. So if anybody else has a conflict for the 24th, please let me know. We can only lose two of you, so we don't want to.
I do believe George is back by then.
I think so. I think he is too, because we talked about that as interview alternate dates. So. But let me know if something comes up, and thank you for letting me know in advance. So we will be beginning. I do not anticipate that we will finish either the HRC bylaw or certainly not the Resident Oversight Board at our next meeting. Those will be continued discussions. We will start discussion of the charter amendments, proposed charter amendments, once we get them officially. But my plan is to try to tackle them. I'm going to try to space them out. Councillor Canna Martin and I will likely have to sit down and kind of map out how long we think each one will take, and try to space them out that way. So Councillor Canna Martin, if you could anticipate a meeting request for me as soon as those come through, that would be great. And then sooner than anyone is going to want to think about it, we will start thinking about the town manager evaluation process in April. Those are the locked in things on my radar. So just letting you know, and then whatever I forgot that Athena will tell me about. Athena?
I hope I wasn't disassociated when you said this, but I don't think you said bylaw review committee appointment.
I didn't. I was in denial. Yep. Thank you so much.
So I spoke with Samantha Giffen today. about the vacancy notice, and I let her know that we need the vacancy notice approved by this committee before I can post it, because she's eager to get it advertised. It's kind of a special one, so we want to
Yep.
make sure that it gets out there.
Do you
Um,
think that, would you like me to write that vacancy notice and put it in our packet? Or is
I'm,
that something
I
that
mean,
we,
I'm sure there's one that we can recycle from, with modifications from something else, but either way, if I can prepare it or you can prepare it for the committee's next meeting, but the sooner we can get that done, the sooner we can um, start accepting applications. The applications are actually there, the SOI link is active, so people could apply now, but there's like a funny rule about when SOIs are, no, I'm sorry, not SOIs. What's the other one? CAFs.
Apps.
When
Yeah.
they're eligible, it has to be like after the vacancy notice is active. So
yeah.
we need that done quick.
Okay, so Athena, I can write that and I will have it for our next meeting, to approve the vacancy notice on that. And then we'll start also thinking about selection guidance and interview questions there. And then it's the same process, just, different group. So we will, if folks would like to start thinking about and look at the finance committee selection guidance, if you want to look through old packets and look at the charter review selection guidance, those might be helpful kind of reference points as well as interview questions, and to kind of ground you. So we will be creating the interview questions and selection guidance at some soon to come meeting. But really the priority will be the vacancy notice. So yeah, Athena, I think we can get that done on the 24th. We can crank that out.
I'd be really happy to work with you on drafting any of those other documents so that we can get them going through the committee. I just feel a little bit of the time passing. And
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think it'll be easier for this committee to review a draft of something than to create from scratch. So I will happily kind of, based on prior selection guidance, make a baseline set that's deeply, deeply in pencil for this committee to review.
exactly.
And we can go from there. Because yeah, starting with a blank page is hard. So Athena, that sounds good in terms of the vacancy notice. I'm happy to take a first run at it if you want me to and connect with you so we can get it in the packet for next time. But we'll have the vacancy. I mean, we could try to get to selection guidance and interview questions on the 24th, but we likely won't need to until at least after the 14th, right? Unless there's a mad dash for CAFs for this committee.
I mean, the vacancy notice has to be posted for at least 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I think that's like you'd want it posted a little bit longer than 2 weeks because we want applicants for this committee. So my thought is if everything else is ready, if the selection guidance and interview questions and so on is ready, then as soon as the committee feels the applicant pool is sufficient, then you can move on to interviews like right away without having to deal with any of that other stuff. So I'm just kind of like thinking about how you can be sort of primed to move on the appointments once there are enough applicants.
Yep, that makes sense. Okay. So I will keep mulling this and figure out, and I think it'll also depend on what answers come back about the HRC bylaw. And essentially my plan, so folks know, because I know that we could spend 18 meetings on just the resident oversight board, my plan is to kind of chunk it. And this is what we've done in the past with big projects like what the ROB is, where we're looking substantively at something that, in the case of the ROB, we're looking at different options and really determining a path. I will basically block off a large chunk of the meeting for that, and we will do what we can in that chunk. Otherwise, what I've found is that things get pushed one way or another, and it disrupts a lot of other processes. So that's my current approach for kind of how to tackle the work that we have to do around the resident oversight board. Human Rights Commission bylaw, I think that we can button up relatively quickly. So hopefully we'll get moving on that soon. Or continue moving. I guess we started. Any questions about, I think that was a bit messy. It's a bit still messy in my little spreadsheet here that I have. So I'll continue to sort it out, but we'll definitely spend some time on the bylaw review committee vacancy at our next meeting, as well as the HRC bylaw. And I would just like to knock the rules of procedure change out so that we can be done with it. Is there anything that I'm missing that folks? Yes, Athena?
Sorry. There was a brief mention at the council meeting last night about review of committee charges. And there's supposed to be an annual review of committee charges. It's meant to be up to committees to review their own charges and then send any changes they want to make to GOL for review. And I'm just not sure if you've emailed council committee chairs going, hey, you're supposed to review your charge and let us know if you want to make any changes. But it sounds like at least one committee might want to make a change.
So I will happily email chairs. I thought that the announcement at council last night was great as a reminder, and an email absolutely is appropriate. So I will email chairs to say if you would like to propose changes for GOL to consider to do so. Any charge changes? Great. All right. Anything else that I'm missing? Okay. With that, given the heft of our upcoming meetings, I am happy to take a motion to adjourn slightly early today.
I move to adjourn.
Great. Is there a second?
Sure. Second.
Sorry, I think we've split the motions and seconds back and forth today. All right, I'm going to call the vote. Lynn?
Aye.
Councillor Cano-Martin?
Aye.
Councillor Lord?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. So it is 8:17. We are adjourned. Thank you all very, very much. Athena, thank you. And I will see you all soon.
Nice job chairing, Amber.
Yeah, well done, Amber. Thank you for
Thanks.
stepping in.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Good night.